All right, good afternoon. This is our lunch and learn with our resident WAFA chef, Hannah, who is going to be teaching us all how to do a warm lentil salad with tzatziki and flatbreads. So I'm now going to hand over to you, Hannah. Off you go. Do work your magic.
Hello, everyone. Hit reward. So this is the first part. We've got quite a lot to cover today. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the flatbread dough and give it half an hour to relax. So what you're going to need is weighing scales. Everybody got weighing scales?
I weighed mine.
You don't?
I said I weighed mine.
Oh, you've weighed it already. Fantastic. Okay, and we're going to weigh out 300 grams of flour. You can use pretty much any flour for this. If you're using gluten-free flour, it might taste a bit mealy, I think is the word you're looking for. I've got spelt flour here. You could use buckwheat flour. With plain flour, it's, you know, delicious. They're a bit sort of like flat naan, a cross between kind of flat naans. They're just flatbreads. They're just flatbreads. So I'm just going to weigh up my 300. I haven't already done this because I've just thought in case anybody didn't have weighing scales or needed a demo or needed to work out how much, which is perfect. And you have to be quite precise. These make 4 large flatbread or probably 8 small flatbread, depending on what size you want them. So the recipe stretches. It's not just for one person, by the way. Okay, that's nearly 300. And the next thing you're going to do is, to this, we're going to add some salt. The beauty of these is they don't need yeast. I love them that don't need yeast. I'm going to put in half a teaspoon of salt. But I know I said I don't usually use this granular salt, but I'm going to use it for this because it mixes more easily than sea salt. So half a teaspoon of salt. Great. The next thing we're going to do is, I said to you, you could use any fat and any milk you want. So you're going to weigh out 50 grams of fat. Remember, these are large flatbreads. If you don't have weighing scales, if you look on a packet of butter, you have it already measured for you in 50 grams, in 50 gram portions. So you can simply cut down one of those and you know that that is 50 grams. I always find that quite good, like if my scales have run out of batteries or anything like that. And you're going to put this butter into something that you can either microwave or a small saucepan, because we're going to warm our milk. I'm going to put mine in a little microwavable jug, and to that I'm going to add 185 millilitres of milk. Again, you can use any fat. You might be using coconut oil. You might be using any fat you want. It really doesn't make a difference. So 185 ml. This is half fat milk. The good thing about this is that when I'm making these dishes, I'm also making them for my family as well. And I just think that's absolutely brilliant because I don't need to cook this evening. Love it. And then I'm just going to pop this in the microwave. It's probably going to take about a minute in total, so I'll be right back with you. And then,
sorry, Hannah, was that, have you just put in the butter and milk in the microwave?
I'm just trying to warm the butter and milk through. And get the butter to melt so I can work with it more easily.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. What I'm going to do next is, whilst we're waiting for that butter to melt, I'm going to take away this huge chopping board. Because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be kneading my dough. We're only going to knead it for 5 minutes. Don't worry, it's not like making a loaf of bread. Just going to check on my butter. Sorry, back with you. My microwave's right across the other side of the kitchen. Yeah, so you might want to either bring this together with your hands, but I find it a little bit easier to bring together at first with food. going to check on my butter again. Is there anybody who is using a little pan to melt their butter? No.
No.
No. And also, it probably won't be completely, but I'm just going to stir it into the milk for a bit. Okay. Yeah, so my butter, you can't quite see in there. It's still in sort of a little bit of a solid block. So if I just keep stirring it, the heat of the milk will melt it. Because otherwise we don't want the milk to boil. That's not the name of the game here. And as soon as your butter has melted, your butter's probably melted a lot quicker than mine, because my microwave was so bad. I got it from a skip. I genuinely did get it from a skip. I went skip diving and got my microwave, and that was so many years ago. So it still works. Hey ho. That's recycling in its best form. So my butter has nearly melted. Yep. And I'm just going to pour that into my flour. Just get mixing. Just keep mixing that. See, it's quite sticky, but at the same time, you're trying to sort of get it so it's coming away from the edges. Can you see? It is sticky, but also it's kind of mopping up all the flour. And once I've kind of pulled it into a ball, like this, I'm going to put a little of the flour down on my surface. Just sprinkle a little of the flour in front of you. And then I'm just going to lift it out, scrape off the excess off the spoon. It's sticky, but don't worry, it's sticky. And just plop it on my surface. Oh, it feels so nice. Just feels like a warm baby bum. I don't know. Sorry. And we're just going to knead it. There's so many different. You might need to keep sprinkling with flour. Use your own judgment for this. You don't want too much flour because you don't want a dry mixture. What you're looking for is you're trying to increase the gluten in the flatbread. You're trying to get the dough nice and smooth. It might seem smooth at the moment, but if you look, you can't really see here. That's not as smooth as it could be. There's loads of different ways to knead. One of the ways you can knead is placing your heel at the bottom of the bread or the dough and pulling it and folding over. So if I put the camera there, hang on. So placing your heel, pulling it out with this hand and folding it over. But I don't do that because I make, because I've got a coffee shop and in the morning we make so many cinnamon buns and so many bread products and stuff. A lot of the stuff we have to do quickly. So I've just got into a habit of just pushing and kind of stretching, or you can use both to just push it along and just keep pushing, folding, pushing, folding. It's quite a good workout, this. Or you can do the traditional way, which is pushing with your heel and folding over. Not your heel of your foot, obviously. That'd be weird. Heel of your hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to do this for about 4 minutes now. And we're eventually going to get a really lovely, smooth, elastic dough. How is everyone getting on? I'm going to flick through. How's everyone getting on with their dough? Good kneading. This is also lovely for children to do. So really, you can use this dough as a base for a pizza for children. You can use this dough. The flatbreads are really versatile. The thicker you make your flatbread, the more bendy it is. If you make your flatbread quite thin, you're going to get something in the style of a matzo or a matza, which is quite crispy but still just as lovely. You can bake it, crisp it into shards and serve it with dip. So with these thick fat flatbreads, I tend to use them as like a gyros holder. So I might do some meat and have cabbage salad and yogurt piled into them, and they hold it really, really nicely. So I think we've got another 2 minutes to go of this strenuous workout with our beautiful dough. And look, my sideboard's really clean. I mean, it's basically cleaning the sideboard for me.
Yeah, mine too.
That's brilliant. So it's quite like a relatively clean recipe to make. This is also pretty much the recipe ratios for pita bread. I do believe they use olive oil for pita bread, but you can make it pita bread and it will blow up in that way where the pita goes hollow in the middle if you want it to. So it's a really, really versatile dough. Lovely. It's not going to expand anymore because the reason is it's got no yeast in to expand. So when we wrap it up in another minute and just leave it, it's just going to sit there nicely, and the gluten networks are just going to go and relax, and that's going to give you a really soft flatbread. If we were to start cooking with it straight away now, they're like really tight and highly strung, so a bit like meat really. So I reckon that's enough. My dough's got a lot smoother. You can't kind of see the little ripples on it anymore. You can see the wholemeal lumps in it, but it's wholemeal flour. But the texture of the dough is a lot smoother. I'm going to wrap it because we don't want it to get sort of soft, hard-coated on the outside. Here's one I had. I've got a freezer bag. You don't have to put it in a freezer bag. Foil, cling film, tea towel, anything. I'm just going to wrap that up so it's airtight and just pop it to one side, anywhere in the kitchen. Lovely. Right, I'm going to bring my chopping board back in. My dad made this and I love it so, so much. But the rule is we don't chop garlic on here because we chop fruit and other things, and like, no one likes garlic flavoured fruit. Right, I'm going to put my flour back, make my workbench clean. That's really important. Just keep your area clean, or otherwise you're going to get in a right mess. Clean as you go. Okay, so we've done our flatbread dough. The next thing we're going to move on to is the tzatziki. How is everyone doing? Has everyone kind of done their dough? Yeah. Fantastic. So we're going to move on next to the tzatziki. Got my little bowl here. Sorry. I've got my bowl here to do it. Now, the first thing we're going to use in the tzatziki is 60 grams of yogurt. If you've got fat-free yogurt like I have, I'm going to use slightly more than 60 grams because the fat content is a moot point because there is no fat in it. If you're using delicious full-fat yogurt, you lucky, lucky thing, just put 60 grams in. So I'm not going to measure because, as I say, I'm using fat-free yogurt. I'm just going to put in 2 lovely blobs. Okay. Next in the tzatziki is cucumber. Okay, let me show you something. Now, normally when I make tzatziki, what I tend to do is put a tea towel out, and I will grate my cucumber onto the tea towel. Then I'll gather it up, clean tea towel. I'll gather it all up and I'll squeeze it over the sink. And then I'll put the gratings in the yogurt, and that's because I don't want it just going watery. But the recipe for this in the book asked me to cube this, so I'm going to cube it. But before I do cube it, I'm going to take out the watery part of the cucumber with a teaspoon. So all I'm going to do is take the teaspoon and just run it down the cucumber. Present. Can you see that? And throw this watery content away, and that will go some way to making the tzatziki less watery. So just, you get a nice spray of cucumber as well, which is quite nice and refreshing. Fantastic. Then I've got my 2 lengths of cucumber. I'm just going to cut it lengthwise into sort of small strips. Remember, use a sharp knife, use the very heel, the bottom of your knife. You'll have a lot more control over it. Don't ever put your finger like that on a knife. It just gives you no control at all. You hold a knife like that. So we're going to cut it into long, thin strips. I would say each of my strips is maybe like that. When it's in long, thin strips, if you can see, I don't know if you can see, then we're going to do, as we did last week, and make our little guard, our finger guard, and grip all the cucumber and simply cut it into the smallest pieces we can possibly muster with a rocking motion of our knife. Use the heel of the knife and just slowly work backwards until you've got some lovely little pieces of cucumber. Look, yum, all tiny little pieces there. And when you get to the end, take your fingers away and just go at it with the knife. We've got them all in our bowl of tzatziki. This is just going to be delicious. Love tzatziki. I have had Greek tzatziki in Cyprus that uses mint. I've had tzatziki in Greece mainly that uses dill. I don't know if there's like a difference, but I've got dill to use because my mint leaves are too small at the moment in the garden. But you can use dill or mint, it's up to you. The next thing I'm going to go in with, is everyone doing okay with their cucumber, by the way?
Have you just got cucumber and yogurt in there at the moment?
Yep, I've just got cucumber and yogurt in there at the moment.
Okay.
Next thing I'm going to add is the juice of half a lemon. Cut it in half. And if you've got any pips, just hold your hand over and squeeze the juice into your hand. Then you can grab the pip and let the juice run out. So like follows. I'm squeezing it over my hand. I'm going to grab the pips and just let the juice run out. And then just chuck that away. Because we don't want the liquid from the cucumber because we've got liquid from the lemon juice and you just don't want to sort of runny tzatziki. You want something that smells so tangy. Lovely. Okay, every tzatziki has garlic. I'm going to use this, which is like a microplane grater. If you've not got one of these and got a garlic crusher, yay. If you've not got either of these,
Can I tell you what I have? Look at it. I think I have the smallest grater in the world.
that's so tiny.
No, it's anything for doing these things, for ginger and garlic and stuff like that. I think I got it in the pound shop, but you know, it hasn't rusted.
Perfect. Yeah, like you could use a small size on your grater. We're only going to put in half a clove. We're going to use the other half a clove for the dressing. So what I'm going to suggest to you now is grate the whole clove. Honestly, you're not going to want to kiss anyone after this. But, you know, who cares? If you're both eating it, doesn't matter, does it? I'm going to grate mine onto a plate. So, a plate with hedgehogs on. Leon's lunch plate. So that I don't damage the integrity of the board. Oh. No garlic rule on the board. So just chop off the end. Oh my gosh, have you seen the size of this? Look at this one. It's huge. I love it.
You can never have enough garlic.
What's that?
You can never have enough garlic.
Well, that's what I think.
I agree.
Now, this recipe that I've been, this WAFA recipe that I've been reading, it asks you to cook the garlic and the onion in the lentils. However, it only gives you a teaspoon of fat to do that in. And you're not going to cook it in a teaspoon of fat. And it's going to be a little bit, it's not going to taste the same. It's going to be too crunchy and it's going to be very, very acrid. So what I'm just going to do is, do you know what? I'm not going to use all of that. It's absolutely huge. I'm going to grate about a small clove's worth of garlic over my plate. I'm going to put half in the tzatziki and let it infuse, and I'm going to put the other half in a dressing type thing we're going to make. So I'm using the same ingredients that are listed in the recipe, but I'm turning them around slightly to make the method slightly different. Okay, so there's my garlic. That's all I'm going to use. You see that? Oh, it's really pungent. So half that into there. Lovely jubbly. And the last final thing we're going to add to our tzatziki is our herbs. Oh, sorry, we've got salt and pepper to add, but we'll add that at the end. Whether you're using mint, I've got a really nice bunch of dill, so I'm using that. It says you want 5 grams. I mean, I'm not going to measure 5 grams of herbs. A handful, perfect. 5 grams is about a tablespoon of chopped herbs, but I just don't see the point in chopping herbs and then putting them on a tablespoon. Yeah, I'm just sort of using a small handful of herbs.
Could you just move your grater just slightly? Move your grater. Can't see the screen. Great, perfect. Thank you.
Can you see me now? Is that okay? I'll point it down on my chopping board. Again, with the back heel of your knife, you're just rocking it over the herb. You want to make sure your knife's sharp. Your knife is sharp, because mint leaves can bruise and go black quite quickly. But if your knife's sharp, you shouldn't have a problem. Let's move down. Okay, and just scrape it off your knife. And when you're ready, you can use the back of your knife, like the non-sharp end, to just scoop it up in your hands and plop it in your bowl. Fab. Lovely. And mix it round, mix, 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 mix. And finally, we're going to add some salt and pepper. Sea salt, a pinch. And I put black pepper. But if you don't want to add pepper, you don't have to. I just sort of like the flavour of it, that's all. It smells really good. Oh, that smells delicious. Fab. So that's our tzatziki done. We've got our flatbread dough done. Also good news. Let's move on to our lentils. Has everyone got their tzatziki done? Yeah? Cool. So we're going to move on to our lentils. I am using these ones. These are Merchant Gourmet Fouille lentils. You don't have to use one from a packet. Anna Godsiff cooked hers last night. She used dry lentils. And we're also going to make up some vegetable stock. We're going to make up 180 ml of vegetable stock. In here, I have got a stock pot. That's what I use. If you've got a stock cube, don't open the packet. Pull the corners up and crush all the stock inside in the silver wrapper. Then you can just rip it open and pour it in. It'll make your life a lot easier. So I'm just going to boil my kettle. It's quite noisy. So I can make my stock up. Meanwhile, I'm going to put my lentils into a pan. Oh, I love lentils. Sorry, it's a bit noisy. I'm also going to add to the pan bay leaves. These are optional, but they're really, really, these are fresh bay leaves. You don't have to have fresh, you can have dried, you don't have to have bay leaves at all. I'm just going to put a couple of those in the pan. And furthermore, I've been drying out some thyme this summer. And I do like dried thyme. I'm going to put a sprig of dried thyme in. We're going to pick this out. We're not going to eat the stalks, but it will just give it a little bit of extra flavour. No, do you know what? I'm actually going to put 2 sprigs in. Okay. You don't have to put that thyme in if you don't want to. I do. Also, the lentils will have a bit of salt in it from the packet or the tin. That salt goes into that canning process. Don't add any salt at this stage, because also your stock cube is really, really salty. So don't add salt in at this stage. Let's taste it afterwards and see if it's okay. Right, my kettle has been boiled.
So did you put your thyme into the saucepan already?
Oh, you've salted it already?
No, the thyme. Did you put the thyme into the saucepan?
Oh, well, I couldn't quite hear you. I've put 2 thyme sprigs in there, and I've put 2 bay leaves in there.
Perfect, yeah.
But they are entirely optional. Okay. Depending on your type of lentils, you may have to drain them when they're finished, you may not. Lentils absorb a vast amount of liquid. So we're going to put the stock in, and we're going to gently simmer them over a low heat. Once we take them off, if you feel that they look a bit sloppy, or if they look like they've got liquid around them, then we're going to drain them. If the lentils seem to have absorbed all the liquid, that's fine. So I think what I'm trying to say is it really doesn't matter how much liquid you put in, because you can always drain them. So let me just mix this stock liquid up. If you've got these jelly stocks like I have, they take quite a long time to dissolve, but I just really like the flavour of them. Has anyone got stock cubes? Is anyone using stock cubes? Fab. So I'm just going to put that. It's really not a lot of liquid, as you can see, like they're barely covered. Can you sort of see that? Oh, pulls them out. They're barely covered anyway. I'm going to put these on the heat, and I'm going to let them come up to the boil and simmer them for 2-3 minutes. Come over here. Okay, so we've got our lentils warming, we've got our tzatziki dip made, we've got our flatbread dough made. Now the next thing is on to the salad. So what we're going to do to make the salad is we want to make sure that every element of it is covered in the delicious dressing we're going to make. So we're going to make the dressing first. And we're going to make it in a bowl and then add the salad to the dressing. And then we know that it's all nice and covered. So we are going to use olive oil. Really important. Where's my teaspoon measurement? I can't find it. I'm going to use one of these. We're going to use a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm really terrible for measurement. I don't measure a lot of things. Just kind of whack it in. We're also going to use a tablespoon of white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar or cider vinegar. You don't have to use white wine vinegar. I wouldn't use malt vinegar, and I wouldn't use something like raspberry vinegar. But white wine, red wine or cider, anything based sherry, anything based on alcohol I would use. So I'm going to do a tablespoon of that as well. So it's a half and half mixture. Oregano, dried, it's much more pungent than fresh oregano. It's got a slightly different flavour as well. I'm going to go in there with oregano. I think on the recipe it calls for a teaspoon, but I have actually put 2 teaspoons of oregano in. I'm going to put a pinch of salt in and some black pepper. That's squeaky, that one. And then I'm just going to use a little whisk or a fork just to amalgamate it all. When lentils are warm, they absorb dressing very, very quickly. When I do lentil salads, which I do quite a lot at the coffee shop, I tend to get the lentils out of the pan, drain them, and then I will put half the dressing straight on, and it really gives a chance for the dressing to soak in. So there's much more flavour going through it. So that's good. Let's just check on our lentils and see if our water's come up to the boil. Yeah, mine's come up to the boil, so I'm just going to turn it down to a simmer so the bubbles are just slowly breaking. And I'm going to tell Alexa to tell me to stop in 2 minutes. Alexa, set timer for 2 minutes. And then I know the lentils will be heated through. So I've got my dressing ready in the bottom of the bowl. Hello.
Thank you, Hannah.
Can you hear me?
My Alexa's just set a timer for 2 minutes as well, so thank you.
Mine did the same, Hannah.
Everyone
Everyone's Alexas have gone off. Thanks for that, Hannah.
That's so funny. Do you know, once I was coming downstairs really early in the morning, I hadn't made a sound, and I was with Leon and we were walking down the stairs, and Alexa said, playing the birdie song. And started playing the birdie song for no reason. It was so weird. Right, our salad. So, tomatoes next. All lovely Greek salads have tomatoes. It says 8 cherry tomatoes, but I've got some lovely tomatoes here. So I'm going to use a mixture of these tomatoes. You can use whatever you want. A tomato is a tomato. With the big ones, if you've got any big ones and you couldn't get hold of cherry tomatoes, I've really struggled to get hold of some products, to be honest, from the shops. Not just the flour and stuff, but tomatoes seem to be really popular as well. I had to go all the way to a special shop for these, but here we go. I'm just going to cut these ones in quarters. And what I also do is I tend to cut them in quarters until I get this little green bit, and then I just lop that off. I'll do it again, I'll show you. So, when you've cut your tomato in half, you've got the green bit on the top. I go down and cut it all around the core. It's really hard to explain with that. And then I've got kind of a little core left. And that way, I don't mind about tomato seeds, but that way I know I'm not getting the green stalk in the tomatoes. Alexa, stop. Okay, you can turn your lentils off and just leave them. I'm going to cut the cherry tomatoes in half because I think that's a lovely way to cut cherry tomatoes. You can cut them in quarters, you can cut them how you like, and put them straight into the dressing. Lovely. With the cucumber, I'm going to do the same as I did for the tzatziki because I don't want a watery salad. So again, I'm going to scrape out the inside of the seeds and have myself little crescents in the salad, I think. I think that also looks really nice as well. So I'm going to scrape my seeds out and turn them upside down so they're in little tunnels. And these are really, really easy to chop just into moon shapes. So pop those on top of your tomatoes. What time is it? Oh, we're doing all right. Lovely. Leaves. Just choose whatever leaves you want. I've gone for rocket here. Love rocket. So I'm just going to put a handful of that on. You know, whenever I've had Greek salads, they've always had green peppers in them as well. This one doesn't call for any green peppers, and usually they have black olives in. But again, this recipe didn't call for black olives or green peppers, but you could definitely add those if you wanted to. Olives are, they do have a calorie count. However, green peppers don't, obviously, and they're full of vitamin C. So that's amazing. Onion. I couldn't get any red onions. So again, this week I'm using spring onions. And because I've got garlic in my tzatziki, I'm really not going to put a lot in. I mean, I'm probably just going to put a few rounds of this spring onion in. Like a handful like that. Because I just don't want that acrid taste of onion in my mouth all day. But you are so very welcome to put as much onion as you like. Oh, that looks delicious. Right. Just going to give it all a toss together and make sure that it's all coated in the salad dressing. How's everyone's salad looking? Mine smells so lovely. Okay, so I just don't want to move on until I know everyone's ready. Let me just check on you all. Oh, Anna, that looks nice. That looks nice. We're going to drain our lentils now if they need draining. If they don't need draining, you don't have to worry about it. Mine do need draining a little. I'm just going to
Hannah, did you put the garlic in your what's it called?
salad dressing.
Sauce. I can't think what it's called.
Salad dressing.
Garlic in the dressing. You put the garlic in the dressing.
Yeah, I have saved that half to put in the dressing, but
Okay.
I'm not going to put it in mine because I feel like I've got enough in. But the recipe does call for it. So if you want to add it to your dressing, please feel free. It will get mellower as time goes on. But I feel like I've probably got enough garlic in the tzatziki. But yes, if you want to add it to your dressing, please do. Sorry, I totally missed that point out. So I've drained my lentils and I'm just going to go through them and pick out the bay leaves. Oh, they smell amazing. And pick out the bay leaves and the sprigs of thyme and just chuck them. The benefit of the stock cube, it just gives it an extra flavour boost because sometimes lentils don't. They have got a flavour, but it's not a very strong flavour. But I don't want to put these in yet because I don't want them to like cook anything. So I'm just going to let them cool down for a while. I'm just going to put them to one side. Okay. So let's see, we've got our tzatziki. We've got our lovely vegetable part of our salad done. And I'm going to put this to one side as well. Because the next thing we can do is start to make your flatbreads. If you want, I'm just going to take 2 minutes just to slightly clear up my area a little bit, just because I'm a big believer in keeping it clean. And it makes me work better. I just can't work with a mucky area. Right, here we go. Just put the weight down. Has everyone got a rolling pin? Doesn't matter if you haven't. You may have noticed that I've not put the feta cheese in the salad yet. I'm going to leave the feta till last. I'm not going to put it in cubes. I'm going to crumble it. When you crumble it in, like every part of the salad gets covered in feta rather than going for like a mouthful of tomato, then a mouthful of feta. I just want to have a big mouthful of all the flavours together. Lovely. Okay, you may need a little flour to roll out these flatbreads. You may not. The first thing we're going to do is get our pan on. We're not going to cook these flatbreads in any oil. If you have a non-stick frying pan, that is the thing to use. If you don't have a non-stick pan, you may want to do what I sometimes do, and that's just give it a little paper towel wipe of olive oil. But you don't have to. These flatbreads will cook without oil. There's butter in there anyway, so don't worry. I'm just going to turn my pan on, if that's okay with you ladies, onto a really low heat just to get it warm up. We need to warm our pan first before we do anything. So if you can hear a noise, it's the Hoover upstairs. I'm really sorry. I'm going to get my flour. If you haven't got a rolling pin, use a tin. If you haven't got a tin, use your hands. It's fine. We are going to make 4 flatbreads. So take your dough out. And you might want to flour the surface, but you don't actually need to. I'm going to cut this pastry, or dough, sorry, into 4 pieces. These flatbreads are going to be huge. Or if you wanted, you could put them into 8 pieces and make 8 flatbreads about that size. It's totally up to you. I'm going to take my first and put it in a ball. And we're going to roll it. That's my rolling pin. The way to get a round flatbread is quarter turns. You roll it, turn it, quarter of an hour. Roll it, turn it, quarter of an hour. Roll it, turn it, quarter of an hour, and so on and so forth. If you were to not turn it, you just get like a really long oblong shape. So you just keep turning it, keeping it in a nice circle. And we're looking for something that is about the size of a dinner plate. A small dinner plate. Unless your dinner plate's a square. Okay, we need another analogy. Something that is the size of the base of your frying pan. How does that sound?
Anna, how do we do it if you don't have a rolling pin?
A tin. Have you got a tin?
Oh, yeah, of course. Okay.
Or a bottle, Anna, a bottle of wine, a bottle of white wine vinegar, a bottle of something else. Or just use your hands, just flatten it out. Mine is my spelt flour. The thing about spelt flour, it never sticks. I love it. You barely need to use any extra flour. You don't want it paper thin because you don't want that crispy matzo texture. You want it. I'm going to show you when I think I've finished rolling it out. Yeah, that's my flatbread. So it's about, oh my gosh, what would that be, like 2 millimeters thick? Can you see it? And it's about the size of my face, probably a bit bigger. Okay, I'm just going to check the heat on my pan. My pan is hot, it's warm, but it's not kind of super warm. So I'm just going to let it warm up a little bit longer. I'm going to pop that flatbread to the side and start to roll the next one. I'm not going to use any extra flour. I just don't feel that I need to. Start with a ball, and then you've got the best chance of keeping it a circle. So roll, quarter turn, roll, quarter turn. This takes me back to pastry class. Roll, quarter turn. Roll, quarter turn. Oh, love these flatbreads. These are so nice as pizza flatbreads. You don't even have to make your own pizza sauce, although making your own pizza sauce is really easy. You can use tomato puree and just spread it on the base with a bit of oregano, and they cook really nicely, like directly on an oven shelf, and they take minutes. Or a baking sheet, just pop them on a baking sheet and they don't take very long at all. See, I wasn't concentrating, and it is now, it's not even round, doesn't matter, it's still going to taste the same. Something else that I use these for, I know I said I use them for euros, but I use them for wraps as well. Like, so if I'm doing like Mexican food, then I will use this, but I will tend to use half wholemeal flour and half fine cornmeal. Fine cornmeal is polenta, fine polenta. So they're kind of like almost corn tortillas, and I will roll them slightly thinner and use those as like tortilla wraps, like if I was doing fajitas or something like that. Okay, I reckon my pan's hot enough now. So I'm going to put my first gorgeous flatbread into the pan. Yeah. I've got my heat on a medium heat, and at this point, when you put your flatbread in, I'm going to take the phone with me. Hang on. Oh, sorry. Okay. Can you see my flatbread? Can you see that? It's basically going to start bubbling up in a bit. So we're going to watch it for 1 to 2 minutes. Eventually, I'm going to get bubbles on the surface. And when I start getting those big bubbles on the surface, I pretty much know that it's cooked on one side. Unless you're using gluten-free flour, you might not get those bubbles. So let's just watch it. Mine is trying to bubble, but spelt flour is really heavy. So it's like, please let me bubble. And the flour's like, no. But it is starting to cook. Da, da, da. How's everyone doing with the flatbreads?
Mine is still quite sticky.
Just add a bit of extra flour. Just add a bit of extra flour. Just, I mean, I think you just have to use your doughy knowledge. You know, if it's sticky, you know if it's too sticky. Keep adding flour and kneading it.
Yeah.
It should be fine. Now my flatbread is starting to sort of change colour at the edges as well. Is anyone else's? Is anyone using white flour? This is interesting. Is anyone using white flour? Plain flour? Yeah.
I'm using white flour.
Oh, let's have a look then. Can you show us your pan? Because you'll probably have better air bubbles than I do.
Oh God, that means I've got to change.
Oh, sorry, no, don't worry, don't worry.
Camera. No, that's fine.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's not doing it.
No, don't worry.
I can do that one.
Oh yes, there we go. How are you getting any air bubbles yet?
Not yet, no.
You might want to turn the heat up a little bit.
Yeah.
Your dough looks fab.
Should I turn it?
Doesn't need turning. You want to look for one of those little air bubbles coming up.
I've got 3.
Oh, Lorna, let me see you. Lorna, go for it. Turn it over.
Okay.
I've got no air. I've got slight air bubbles, but because it's spelt flour, it's very compact and heavy. Honey, I can see you're starting to get some bubbles there.
I've just turned my one.
Okay, how does it look? Oh, look. Suzanne. Oh, look at that. That is a flatbread to be proud of that.
I've never made flatbread in my life.
Really? Oh my gosh, it's so easy and just so delicious. Like, especially if you put, sorry Anna, garlic butter all over them. I mean, oh.
Sorry, can we take a look at Surgits as well? Look at that. Show off. That's so good.
Surgeon, have you done this before? What you can do is when you're getting through them, start to pile them up on a plate. If you want to keep them super warm, just pop a tea towel over them. They will stay pliable if you put a tea towel over them. Right, mine's ready for flipping. You obviously made yours a bit thinner than mine because mine is really quite thick. But I'm going to flip it over now. The wholemeal flatbreads won't be as pliable as the white flatbreads. Rosie, that looks ace. The white flatbreads are just like, oh, so good. The wholemeal flatbreads, although they're more healthier or more healthy, they won't be as sort of pliable. But mine haven't got those gorgeous bubbles on that yours have got. I'll show you mine. Hang on. It doesn't look as appealing as the white ones. But hey ho. So that's how we do our flatbreads. I've got one more to roll out. I'm going to put you back on. Oh my goodness, hang on, I've lost you. Hold on, I'm coming back. There you go. And I'm going to finish out rolling the last flatbread. Yeah, imagine if you just put garlic on that. Or like, I'm thinking of a treat, right? But imagine if you had the white one and then you just spread it with Nutella and put some sliced banana in it and folded it over. That would be insane. Oh, it'd be so good. Or imagine if you had a wholemeal one and filled it with delicious Greek salad, which is what we're going to do. And that's going to be good.
Hello. We've got Nutella.
What? Oh, Rosie, you shouldn't have said that. That's pressure on your mum. Okay, my next flatbread's going in. And what I'm going to do now whilst my flatbread's cooking, is I'm going to take my salad. I'm going to add my lentils to the salad, and it's going to just, the warmth of it is just going to make all the flavours come alive. So my lentils are going straight in to the salad. Oh, there's the bay leaf I couldn't find before. If you can, mix your salad with a metal spoon. If you mix lentils with a wooden spoon, you're just going to break them up into mush. So use a sharp-edged spoon, and then you can keep, and don't mix too much, then you can keep them nice and sprightly and sort of al dente. At this point here, I'm not going to add any salt. I have added some salt to the dressing. Also, there's salt in the feta. Feta's super salty. What I am going to do is add all my chopped parsley. So, I'm going to get my board back. I'm going to flip my flatbread over. And I'm going to chop my parsley, which is, again, about a tablespoon of chopped parsley. I always like to get a bit of OTT on parsley because I absolutely love it. You can use curly parsley if you don't have flat parsley, but what you'll have to do is wash it because it can be very, very gritty and sandy and full of bugs. Okay, lovely. I'm going to put my black parsley into my salad. Do you know what I am going to do? I'm going to add a bit of pepper, a bit more pepper though. And finally, oh, that smells beautiful. I'm going to add my feta in. If you don't want to use all your feta, then what you can do is open it, transfer it to a sort of small flat Tupperware along with the juices. If you transfer it with the juices, your feta is likely to last a lot longer. So we need 40 grams of feta. Again, that's not much. Good, whatever your packet size, that's about it. And I'm just going to crumble this in. I'm going to get some small bits and I'm going to get some big bits, and it's going to look absolutely lovely. Fab. I'm going to wipe my hands. Okay, so over my flatbread. Well, that's a bit better. This one's got a bit more bubbly. I think it's because my pan is a bit hotter. Okay, I'm going to plate up for the purpose of aesthetics. I mean, you don't have to plate up right now. I'm just going to get myself a really gorgeous plate. Hold on a second. This is my Turkish plate and my Turkish dip thing. I love it. Okay, so.
You want a photo of that, please, Hannah?
Okay, I'm going to use a bigger spoon because I'm not getting anywhere with that tiny mini small spoon. Okay. I'm so excited. And I love the big pieces of tomato and then the little pieces of tomato. And the feta cheese. So this serves 2 people. So you may want to put that half on a plate. Just going to put my next flatbread in. So I'm only up to flatbread number 3 here. Tzatziki. Love it. Garlicky heaven. I'm going to put my tzatziki on a plate. And finally, my flatbread. Ta-da! My lovely, warm, bendy flatbread. And I'm just going to fold it over and conk it on the side there. Doesn't look as glamorous, but you know.
Hannah,
Right,
can you come down to the camera a little bit? I just want to get a photo of that, of you as well.
Hang on. I need to adjust the legs on my tripod for that. because it won't bend down anymore. How is... Nope, that's not worked.
That's all right. Don't worry. Just the photo just bending down. There we go. Oh, look at you. That's nice because everybody's in the picture as well. Thanks.
Oh, how? Oh, I really want to see everyone's plates, by the way. Do you know what Jamie Oliver would do at this point? He'd drizzle the whole thing with olive oil. But we're not going to do that, are we? That's better. Sorry, Anna, that's a better angle.
Oh, hang on. I'll do that then. Hang on. Wait. That is a much better angle. Let's have big smiley face. Lovely. Ladies to the camera. Yay, perfect. Thank you.
Oh, too. I'm getting my lovely air bubbles now. Back in business.
I don't think my flatbread cooked too well in the middle. Maybe it was a bit thick. This is the middle of it. That's the outside of it. That's the middle of it.
Mine's all done.
It's no problem. Just put it back on in the pan and turn the heat down a little in the pan.
Yeah, okay. I'll just have to second.
Anna,
Oh, my salad smells beautiful.
my plate.
Let me see. Hang on. Whose am I looking at?
Search it.
That looks really nice. What
That's
salad
nice.
leaves did you do? Oh, your bread looks aged.
Oh, that looks,
So beautiful.
looks wonderful.
It does. Oh, Kerry, that looks really lovely. I like your colour of your bread. I love the way that the feta's in big and little lumps. I think that's going to be really nice. Can't wait to eat it.
I'm just going to end the recording because we've done everything. We have, haven't we? And then we can just chat away. All right. Thanks, Hannah. I'm going to just